Well, I don't know about y'all, but the Thunderbolts trailer, the special look that we got from Disney's D23 that was released yesterday, got me super pumped for the movie. It really does seem like we are getting a Captain America Winter Soldier style movie with a little bit more comedy than the Winter Soldier actually had, and I am here for that. But let me know what you thought about this trailer in the comments down below. And we'll start our breakdown with the very beginning, with that very awesome Winter Soldier scene. Now they start off, they're driving somewhere in the desert, and Red Guardian makes a comment that America is so big. And this kind of reminds me of a lot of those videos that have recently come out online where people move from other countries to America and they are talking about how big it actually is. And I think this is kind of playing on some of those viral videos where people are like, oh, Americans aren't that well traveled. And then other people say, well, they are. They just travel throughout America because it's so dang big. But the conversation is interrupted because a convoy is on their tail. And we see the side of Red Guardian's car, which is red, and we see that it's actually a limo. On the side reads, Red Guardian Limo Service, protecting you from boring evening. And I love how they play off of him being from the Soviet Union and him not using technically correct English. Like it should read protecting you from a boring evening. And then when Bucky takes out the convoy, he says, that's what I talk about, instead of fully saying that's what I'm talking about. I love the attention to detail here. And in the car with him, we have in the front seat, Yelena Belova, the sister of Natasha Romanoff and daughter of Red Guardian, who of course is driving. Now, they're not actually blood related. They were put together for a mission to be a family and basically ended up becoming a real family, considering each other sisters and of course considering Red Guardian their father. In the back we have US Agent John Walker, the previous Captain America for just a bit. They even poke fun of that a little bit later on. But in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he was introduced and he became the next Captain America after Steve Rogers. After brutally beating a terrorist to death with the Captain America shield while a lot of people watched and filmed, he was stripped of the official title and then he went to work for Valentina Allegra De Fontaine, which we'll talk about in just a bit. It also appears that Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is in the backseat as well with them. I don't see Taskmaster in the back, but we know obviously she's going to be a part of the Thunderbolts team. So we don't know where she is right there. So that's everybody in the car. Red Guardian, Yelena Belova, US Agent, and Ghost. US Agent says step on it, a convoy's approaching, but since it's a limo, it doesn't go that fast. So they obviously can't outrun the convoy. So as they get close, Red Guardian says engaging defensive measures, and then he pulls out a secret switch compartment, and we think he's going to deploy some type of tactical solution to help get the convoy off of him, but instead it just ignites the limo into party mode. So he seems to be a limo driver whenever Yelena goes up to him and kind of recruits him for this task that they're doing, and he has a party mode for when people are in his limo. Now I'm assuming one of those switches or other switches do have some tactical defenses on them, but it looks like he's fumbling and can't figure them out. So Ghost says, Walker, shield, so he can shield them from the bullets. Yelena sticks her head out the window, starts shooting at the convoy, and then one of them blows up. She is very confused. She looks at Red Guardian. Red Guardian is confused because her bullets should not be able to do anything against this armored vehicle. And that's when it's revealed that from behind, Bucky is attacking them. He appears in really awesome fashion. In fact, he kind of reminds me of the Terminator here on this motorcycle holding his gun up. John Walker realizes that it's Bucky, or at least looks like him, so he asks, is that Bucky? And Red Guardian says, oh, it's the Winter Soldier. That guy's so cool. And this scene is honestly super cool. And remember, Hydra gave Bucky a super soldier serum, and Red Guardian was also given a super soldier serum from the Soviet Union. Now Bucky makes pretty quick work of the convoy, and the scenes are really awesome. He shoots off a cable from one of the vehicles knowing that he can't penetrate it with a bullet, and knowing very well that with his arm, his vibranium arm, he can simply stop it. And that's exactly what he does. Now everybody celebrates because they think, oh yay, it's Bucky, like he should be on our side, until he shoots an explosive at them and their car blows up and flips over. Now, of course, none of them are going to be dead in this because we see scenes later on with all of them together. And we know that Bucky is actually a congressman in the Thunderbolts film. So he probably thinks that they're up to something and really, honestly, probably just wants to figure out what it is. Is it good and he doesn't need to worry about it? Is it bad and he needs to step in as a congressman slash the Winter Soldier? And I'm assuming it's a little bit of both. I'm assuming they tell him about Valentina and he knows probably all about her, and that's how he gets roped into this team. Now for the next and possibly the biggest part of this trailer, we find out that Valentina is the one who officially has bought the Avengers Tower. She is the one who bought the Avengers Tower from Tony Stark. Much like we thought, but we didn't have official confirmation until she says it actually in this trailer. The Thunderbolts team takes an elevator up to a very high floor in a building that we wanted to assume was the Avengers Tower before, but didn't get a confirmation. But then Valentina says,
"Think of all the monumental fights that happened exactly here where you're standing. I mean, the place wasn't cheap, but it's got good optics."
How crazy is it to think about all of the monumental fights that happened exactly here where you are standing? And of course, this is a direct reference to the Battle of New York. Of course, it's the exact location where at the end of the first Avengers where they got Loki, also where Hulk smashed Loki. Of course, in Avengers Endgame, we saw a lot of scenes in this room as well, and it looks like Valentina kept the bar. Tony's bar. And she says, I mean, the place wasn't cheap, but it's got good optics. So that seemingly confirms that it is her. She knows the price of it. She's saying, I bought it and it wasn't cheap, but hey, I like the view. So Kingpin didn't buy it. It's not Fisk Tower. It's not the Fantastic Four Baxter building. Mephisto didn't buy it. It is officially owned by Valentina Allegra De Fontaine, who most of the Thunderbolts probably aren't happy to see, including Yelena. Now, in the post-credit scene of Black Widow, we saw Valentina approach Yelena, and she approached her about Hawkeye, and we saw those events go down in the Hawkeye series, and Yelena realized that Valentina may not be so legitimate. But it also shows us throughout this trailer that she is seemingly still working for her, even though she hates her, but she needs to work, she needs to make money, and Valentina needs her to do what she does, so it kind of works. Then in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Valentina approached US Agent John Walker, so he has done work for her as well. I'm assuming all of the Thunderbolts, with the exception of Red Guardian and probably Bucky, they all work for her except for those two. But it is possible that Bucky has been approached by her, which could be the reason why he actually ends up joining the Thunderbolts. Now, the scene with Valentina seemingly shows us that they are working for her still. They're kind of beat up though, as you can tell by the look of some of them, so they've been through some stuff and they're pretty pissed off with Valentina, probably because of a mission that she gave them. That'll probably have to do with Sentry. Plus, we've seen from the previous trailer and in this trailer as well, they all get locked in a room together. And that might have been Valentina trying to kill them. She sent them all there to get wiped out and maybe try to take the Sentry out, or Bob, who is playing the Sentry in this movie. So she might have tried to get them to go together, kill Bob, then kill each other, then whoever's left, they clean up. There's obviously a SWAT team that goes in after, and there's also a lot of fire that we see in this trailer coming down from the ceiling, so that could have killed them as well. But they make their way back to Valentina, and I'm assuming this is probably in the middle of the movie, maybe a little bit before the middle of the movie. And perhaps it's one of those situations where she says, hey, if you finish this one task, we'll let you go, and you don't have to work for me anymore. I'll leave you alone. I won't try to kill you. Possibly a John Wick situation. Hey, do this dirty deed for me, and I'll let you out. There is a scene where she asks who the Red Guardian is, and she's like, who? So clearly he has never worked for her before. In a previous trailer, we did see her and Bucky at the same place. It looks like it is the Avengers Tower, since there's a lot of stuff on display from the Battle of New York. So her and Bucky know who each other are, but I'm assuming he's never worked for her either. But now he's in with the Thunderbolts. Now, the rest of the scenes kind of just introduce the characters very briefly. With Yelena, we hear her on the phone that her assignment is complete when we see an entire floor of a building explode. And notice that she's holding a guinea pig in her hand. Now, we do see some scenes where she is seemingly in some offices, or it looks like maybe they're doing scientific testing. So perhaps one of her assignments, that one right there that just blew up, when she was in the building putting the explosives down, perhaps she saw a guinea pig being tested on and she rescued it, which I really like. That's a cool detail if that's what's happening. Then when they introduce Bucky, they show us Bucky and Red Guardian in the same car together. And Red Guardian asks, what kind of serum did you get? Because keep in mind, when Captain America was made, everybody else tried to replicate and duplicate the super soldier serum, including Thunderbolt Ross, who is now Red Hulk, so I'm assuming he's kind of not done with that yet. But the other countries made their own. Hydra made their own, and that's what Bucky says he got. And Red Guardian got one from the Soviet Union. So there are going to be differences in the serum. Like, for example, Red Guardian's not really in shape, and we know from Captain America that his metabolism is just like super insanely high. So Steve Rogers' Captain America couldn't really get out of shape if he tried. It's probably somewhat the same for Bucky's, but clearly not the same for Red Guardian's. For example, they say Steve Rogers Rogers' metabolism burns 4 times faster than the average male, and it's estimated that Steve Rogers simply not doing anything, but if he just sat around all day, he would still burn on an average of 7,600 calories a day. So he couldn't really get fat if he tried, but that's clearly not the case for Red Guardian. And that works with the next scene that they show us when they introduce the Red Guardian. He's sitting on the couch in a tank top and his underwear, and you can see he's out of shape. And even when Bucky tells him, I got, the normal one, Hydra, Red Guardian goes, oh, fancy, and he's probably a little bit jealous of him, wishing that he got a better super soldier serum. And when they introduce him, Valentina's like, who's the Red Santa? And he says, I'm the Red Guardian, like she should know who he is, but she obviously doesn't. And I love how they introduce John Walker, because they say like, yeah, he's done some wet ops before, he's doing some shady work, but I love that they just make fun of him for being Captain America for like a minute. Ghost even tells him that he is the dime store Captain America, but he says, I'd have you know, I was the official Captain America. And Yelena even pokes back at him saying, yeah, for like 2 seconds. And then they show us a lot of really great footage, a lot of action, and they show the Thunderbolts fighting each other. And considering that they all look pretty clean, like no bruises, no dirt on their faces, nothing like that, this has to be in the beginning of the movie before they all go and see Valentina. This is what's going to make them all realize that Valentina most likely sent them all on the same mission, and maybe she didn't plan for them to come back. So they all get together and they go find Valentina in the Avengers Tower. And again, we don't really know what their full mission is going to be like yet, but we hear a little monologue from Yelena, and she says, there's no place we belong. We can't run from our past. Bucky says, all right, then we face it. And Yelena says, okay, are we just supposed to punch and shoot? And yes, that's exactly what the Thunderbolts are going to do. That is what this team does. And that's what they really focus on in this trailer. They focus on the fact that every member of the Thunderbolts team is a trained killer and has done contract and wet work. They kill, they shoot, they blow up, everything. And I love this part where Red Guardian says, we're the Thunderbolts, but nobody else really wants the name to be that. But he says it's a really cool name, and that's when we get the asterisk. So perhaps that asterisk isn't really what we thought it was going to be. Some people thought that they have an asterisk there because maybe they go on to be the Dark Avengers team. But it sounds like the asterisk is there based on this trailer because they don't really like the Thunderbolts team name, and some of them want to change it. So it doesn't look like there is super deep meaning to that asterisk besides the fact that Red Guardian loves it. He's named the team that, but the other people are like, no, we don't want that. At least that's what this trailer leads us to believe. Now, there is Bob, and like I mentioned, Bob is Sentry. And that brings us to, once again, Super Soldier Serum, because in the comics, he gets a form of Super Soldier Serum that's very derivative of Captain America's, but the Super Soldier Serum that he got was the Golden Sentry Serum, which is supposed to be 100,000 times stronger than the serum that Steve Rogers got. And this turns him into the Sentry, the man with the power of 1 million exploding suns. So he's clearly being experimented on in the Thunderbolts, and perhaps he gets too strong, and Valentina sends the Thunderbolts to wipe him out. However, there's really no way I can see the Thunderbolts pulling that off. So there is some big twist coming, which I can't wait to see. But in the meantime, let me know your thoughts about our new look at the Thunderbolts. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our latest breakdowns or any MCU news. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.